Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this will be the Combat Series episode number 77 for you guys today. Of course, this episode is going to be coming out on all four of our platforms, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the first segment of the Combat Series this week. I'll be sharing my UFC 310 fight summary between Alexandre Pantoja and Kai Asakura. So, last night in the main event of UFC 310, the flyweight title was on the line, and Alexandre Pantoja defeated Kai Asakura by submission in the second round to retain his flyweight championship in the UFC. So this will be my fight summary on the fight. Now, I am going to be completely honest with you guys. This looked like an easy night in the office for Alexandre Pantoja against Kai Asakura last night. To me, other than that first round attempt where Kai Asakura tried to land the knee strike on Alexandre Pantoja, which did not fully connect, that is the only time we've seen Alexandre Pantoja possibly in danger throughout the 2 rounds of that flyweight championship fight last night. I mean, Alexandre Pantoja controlled the pace of the fight, made the cut. He adjusted to the small adjustments that Kai Asakura was trying to make in the first round. He cut off the octagon and took the fight to Kai Asakura fighting coming forward. And Alexandre Pantoja, I'm surprised when he hit Kai Asakura with that left hook in the first round. I'm surprised Kai Asakura did not get dropped. But we knew heading into this fight, the only chance that Kai Asakura, if you follow his tape from Japan, the only chance that he really had was in the striking department, being a brawler, because he didn't have the grappling style, the wrestling background like Alexandre Pantoja has. Neither has he fought a caliber fighter at the level, a pound-for-pound level fighter that Alexandre Pantoja is when he was over in Japan. So once Alexandre Pantoja tapped into his grappling arsenal, took him to the ground in the second round, got on his back, locked in the chokehold, and forced Kai Asakura to submit, Alexandre Pantoja picked up the second round victory, and he looked very comfortable in that octagon last night. So hats off to Alexandre Pantoja for making the newcomer Kai Asakura, who is a former world champion over in Japan, look like an average fighter. Because let's be honest, it was an easy night in the office, an easy task at hand for Alexandre Pantoja, who successfully retained the flyweight title and still remains the king of this flyweight division. So after Alexandre Pantoja's victory at UFC 310, Alexandre Pantoja has now successfully retained the flyweight title 3 times, 3 successful title defenses, and he's 3-0 against opposition that is top 10 in the UFC rankings. And he could be 4-0 against top 10 opposition, depending on if Kai Asakura is ranked as a top 10 fighter by Dana White and the UFC executives following his UFC 310 loss for his UFC debut. But as I digress, Alexandre Pantoja, he's beat every single flyweight contender available. He's beaten the top guys at this division. Brandon Royval, he's beat him twice. Brandon Moreno, he's beat him. Steve Erceg, he's beat him. The list goes on and on. Alexandre Pantoja has cleaned out this division. He's the king of this division for a reason. A top 10 pound-for-pound fighter in this division. And it's got to the point where Alexandre Pantoja has cleaned out the flyweight division to the point where he called out Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson, the greatest flyweight champion of all time that had 11 title defenses, 10 to 11 title defenses in his UFC career. Now, obviously, that fight's not happening because Demetrius Johnson is a retired fighter. But the point of him calling out Demetrius Johnson because there's nobody else for him to beat at flyweight is pretty remarkable. So, I mean, to be honest with you guys, Alexandre Pantoja just looks unbeatable at flyweight. He's never been stopped in his UFC career before. He's never been knocked out. He's never been submitted. He has a strong chin. I've only seen him hurt and dropped once in his UFC career. Me personally, I think it's time to have this conversation that Alexandre Pantoja should dare himself to be great. Try to be a 2-division world champion in the UFC, climbing up to the bantamweight division. I like to see him fly at the bantamweight division because I just don't believe there's anything left for him to do at this flyweight division besides continue to have successful title defenses, attempt to break Demetrius Johnson's record. But other than that, he's cleaned out the division. I would like to see him do something different. Not everybody is comfortable with moving up in weight, but I would like to see him move up to the bantamweight division because I think he's accomplished everything there is to do at flyweight. Now, as for Kai Asakura, who lost in his UFC debut, what's next for him? It's not the end of the world for Kai Asakura. He got a world title championship fight in his debut to the UFC. So that speaks volumes to how much Dana White and the rest of the UFC executives view Kai Asakura as a future bona fide star in the UFC and a future world champion because they gave him a world title fight on his plate in his debut to the UFC. So he's a former world champion over Japan in MMA. But we got to give him his credit because even though he did get submitted in the second round, he's never fought a fighter like Alexandre Pantoja over in Japan, a pound-for-pound fighter that can strike well, grapple well, has a good wrestling background, and he's never fought in an octagon cage before. I mean, think about it. If you guys know how the MMA rules go over in Japan, they fight in a ring with ropes. So it's a little different, but still, he is very capable of what he could do at a high level at the MMA and the MMA world, obviously. So if he can work on his grappling skills, he's going to have to do that in a flyweight division where there's a ton of grapplers in this division if you want to get back to getting a world title opportunity one day. He's got the striking ability. He's a brawler. If you guys look at his tape, his fights over in Japan, he can do it in the striking department. He's just got to become a better wrestler. But I want to see what fights that Dana White and the rest of the UFC executives line up for Kai Asakura in 2025 as he tries to climb up this flyweight division. And we'll see what's next for him in 2025. But that is my Alexandre Pantoja and Kai Asakura fight summary from the main event of UFC 310.